has come. Northern Iowa against Georgia Tech. The Yellow Jackets trying to keep the ACC perfect. They're 5-0. Let's join Tim Brando and Mike Jaminski.
All right, Greg, and welcome back to the Bradley Center here in Milwaukee for this first round game in the St. Louis bracket. It's the 14th seeded Northern Iowa team against number 3 seed Georgia Tech, and the winner of today's game advances to meet BC, the winner of our earlier game against the Runnin' Utes. The Georgia Tech lineups look this way, anchored by that outstanding troika of guards Elder, Jack, and Lewis. And of course, Northern Iowa, a young team that relies heavily on David Gruber as their go-to guy, a 6'6 senior. Greg McDermott, a guy that played once for Eldon Miller, now coaching at his alma mater, only a year removed as a player from their last NCAA tournament appearance in 1990. And Paul Hewitt, who coached at Siena, made his mark there and has come to Georgia Tech to wake up the echoes of Bobby Grimmon's period gone by. And Tim Higgins leads our officiating crew along with Frank Scagliotta and Bernard Clinton.
Tim, you look at it, Georgia Tech 94 feet of pressure in this game. They really want to get into the Panthers and turn them over, and I think for Northern Iowa, early success from the perimeter is going to be a big key in this game.
A healthy contingent of fans for Northern Iowa here to cheer on their Panthers, donned in the purple and gold. Jacobson with a dump down. Nice look inside. And he finds his man, David Gruber, who wants a lot of touches today.
They feel it's important that he establish himself down low, playing with that fractured wrist. Very heroic effort on his part over the last 7 games of the season.
Heavily bandaged, as you can see. McHenry can't get it to fall. Cincher trying to come up with the loose ball. Last touched, it appeared, by Eric Crawford. Look at our Northern Iowa tournament profile out of the Missouri Valley. Got the automatic bid. Had to work hard to do so in a league that's done very well in past years.
A dramatic double overtime win against Southwest Missouri State. They had the lead in that game several times, gave it up, but able to come through with the big win.
There was an overrule underneath the basket, so Northern Iowa did get control of the basketball. Brooks McCowan working against Jared Jack. Much taller Georgia Tech team, and Cincher gets the first rejection of the day.
Crawford trying to carry it a little bit too far into the lane, ran into the 7'1" Cincher.
Georgia Tech has so many pieces, particularly in the perimeter. Lewis, a three-point specialist, can't hit. Schneiderman the rebound.
And he's a guy that they set a lot of screens for Marvin Lewis to try to get him looks.
Matt Schneiderman, the senior from Marshalltown, Iowa.
And that's how you counteract size. You draw the big fellow away with the 3-ball.
Jared Jack trying to work off of that pick from Cincher. Yeah, he's really got some talent. Luke Cincher is more than just a role player. And, you know, Georgia Tech has noticed that McHenry is being left wide open. They'll feed and fan this big fella all day.
No, they're gonna feed off of McHenry. But Cincher, Tim, the big difference with him from last year is his hands. He's doing a much better job catching the ball inside. And as this year has gone along, his teammates have gotten more confidence in him, and they've learned to play around him and use him as a part of the offense.
Northern Iowa by 3.
One of the things that's going to concern Georgia Tech, Northern Iowa uses more offensive sets than anybody they've seen all year, and they're a very good ball screening team.
Hey, it was this league that a year ago made significant noise in the tournament. As a matter of fact, the last couple of years, Missouri Valley teams have fared very well in the NCAA tournament. McHenry again left wide open, feeding Cincher. They get the triangle they want, and B.J. Elder can't hit. This is a Northern Iowa team that's sneaky quick, aren't they? Inside to Gruber. Very crisp perimeter passing.
And they spread you out a little bit. You have to honor the outside, and allows him room to operate.
McHenry throws up a prayer that's not answered. And this Northern Iowa contingent very happy to be out of Cedar Rapids and enjoying the day in Milwaukee. An errant pass thrown away that time by McCowan. Outstanding start, though, for Northern Iowa.
Here you see all the space that Gruber has, and he does a nice job. McHenry, if you go for the steal in that situation and you come up empty, it's going to be an automatic 2 points. The defense can't get back to help. But Tim, this is going to be a different offensive profile to this game than the first game we saw against Boston College and Utah. These two teams will get up and down the floor, and they'll put points on the board.
Clarence Moore has come into the game. Just in. Knocks down the tray.
You have to honor Clarence Moore. You know, he's a very good defensive player, but shoots over 40% from three. And unlike McHenry, they're going to have to honor him from the outside.
Norco, Louisiana. Clarence Moore, South Lafourche High School. I'm not sure if that was an alley-oop or an errant shot. I think it may have been an alley-oop pass from Brooks McCowan.
Into Gruber, they're trying to get the back screen with him to the rim.
They attack, don't they? I mean, I'm impressed with what we've seen out of the gates from Northern Iowa. Inbounds pass to Jacobson. High arching off the window, and the push against Jared Jack.
Well, the Georgia Tech coaching staff felt like this is the best shooting team in the Missouri Valley Conference, and that gets your attention in a one game and out situation in the tournament.
I don't think there's a team that jumped on the scene in college basketball's regular season any quicker than did Georgia Tech. They were the hottest team, unranked in preseason polls. By the month of December coming to an end, everyone knew about them.
Well, that's success up in New York in the preseason NIT against some quality competition.
Moore on the blow-by. Reach-in foul will go against Matt Schneiderman. Just over 4 minutes gone by here in Milwaukee, and the Panthers trying to make a wreck of Georgia Tech.
UNI with the early lead here in Milwaukee. Hello again, everybody. I'm Heather Cox, and David Gruber is starting his 88th career game for UNI today, but he's playing with a broken wrist. For the last month, he's had a broken wrist on his non-shooting hand. Now, a local prosthetic company developed this plastic brace that he's wearing. They then tape it up. He said it affects his free throws and his rebounding, but ironically, Gruber's scoring and rebounding numbers have gone up since the injury.
Just like that, B.J. Elder gets the bucket, ties the game at 7. He averaged 21 in the two ACC tournament games that they played. Going back to Gruber and talking about having to deal with Luke Cincher today, he said, I'm not afraid of Cincher's size. As a matter of fact, I'm not really a fan of being called undersized.
He's played anything but here early, and to add on to that point with the cast, all three referees taking a look at it before the game to make sure it made code, and there was one area around the thumb they thought there was something exposed. He had to have that taped up, but it was given clearance by the referees in the game.
A little anxiety that time as Gruber can't corral that pass. Follow the game on CBS Sportsline's Game Center and get more than just the game. Get play-by-play coverage as it happens without having to refresh the page. Check it out at cbssportsline.com.
Given that, Tim, with that cast on, why would you let him beat you to his right hand?
Good point.
Why not just sit over there and say, all right, go with the cast?
I think it may have affected him trying to reel in that pass a moment ago down on the block.
That's hard. You've got that. You're used to having the full dexterity, and all of a sudden you've got to try to catch with something covering up half of your palm. It's an issue.
B.J. Elder with his first foul. Pete Schmidt coming to the game now, operating at the point. Being dogged heavily here by Ishmael Mohammed, who is instant energy when coming into the game for Georgia Tech. That has been his MO all year long. Tough shot, won't fall for Jacobson. Lewis left free. Off the front rim, Cincher the long rebound.
That's where Schencher has really improved as well, at being a force on the offensive glass to get recycles for his team.
Jack for three. Out of bounds to Northern Iowa. Tech shoots threes well, 37%. That's third best in the ACC and 40% over the last 11 games, but 1 out of 5 to open this afternoon.
It's been a theme with our first game. Certainly Utah struggled mightily from behind the arc, and early on here Georgia Tech having trouble dialing it in.
So far this NCAA tournament has been about the mega conferences doing well. Big East unbeaten in 4 tries. ACC trying to get to 5-0 with a Georgia Tech victory today. Well, the lower seeds have been competitive. Only a few have won. And that time Gruber unable to collect it and put it up on the rack. Moore high pass into Cincher, and he draws the foul. Bynum into the game, and the foul will go inside against David Gruber.
One of the things that Cincher does well is keep the ball above his head when he catches it, instead of bringing it down and bringing the guards into play. Really nothing sexy about any of the moves that he makes, but he's very efficient, and he's become a very efficient low post player.
Look at those scores. Vanderbilt with the early lead on Western Michigan. That's one of the lower seeds that a number of people expect to advance today. It would be an interesting matchup over in that bracket where Vanderbilt to play NC State, 2 teams that like to play a speedier version of the Princeton offense.
And NC State, of course, surprised many people this year with their second place finish in the conference behind Duke.
Both Princeton and Air Force, who play at the legitimate Princeton pace, knocked out of the tournament yesterday after being competitive early. And another foul on that inbounds pass. Quick giveaway given away by Moore. First foul on Clarence.
And same offense gave North Carolina all kinds of problems, with Air Force holding that lead until a 21-5 run late in the game for North Carolina.
See how cold the last few minutes they've been after a scintillating start.
I think you've got you see Ismail Muhammad and Clarence Moore in the game. 2 of their better defenders have caused that for Georgia Tech.
John Little on the floor along with Grant Stout. Jacobson looking to find Little. Crowd wanted a whistle, and I believe Stout is down. He is no, it's John Little that's on the floor, and he's in a lot of pain. This is a 5-on-4 for Georgia Tech. Until they score, they can't get the timeout. Now they do.
He came down hard. Clarence Moore stepping in to take the charge, and it looks like he might have fallen on a rib. It's where he was kind of grabbing himself. Here's the play. Cincher comes out wildly, gives up the baseline, but Moore able to get him, and John Little's feet just went out from underneath him, and that's a scary feeling when you know you're going to hit the floor and there's no way to protect yourself. He's still in pain.
You would agree that that was a quality no-call situation there. We've seen contact, but again, no advantage given to either player.
Yep, I agree. Here's the play again. Good news that he's stepping over, and certainly Moore there getting his hands up. Yeah, he came down right on that right side on his hip and on his rib.
Out of Peoria, Illinois, and it's a very responsive crowd. Nice show of sportsmanship there by Moore, coming over to say, I hope you're okay. Well, tonight on The Late Show, Dave's got audience show and tell. Love that. Plus music from Christina Aguilera. Don't miss The Late Show with David Letterman tonight on CBS. Tim Brando, Mike Jaminski, Heather Cox here in Milwaukee. Georgia Tech with an 11-7 lead.
They've also Tech has also turned up the pressure here after the first couple of minutes. They've been a little more successful offensively, so they've been able to get some pressure at 94 feet.
They're on a 9-0 run in the last 4:20. Gruber's touches have really been limited since that first 3-minute period in which he got off to an outstanding start. Jacobson, nice cut. Well done, right into the hands of Grant Stout, and the freshman from New Sharon, Iowa, delivered.
And Jacobson's their leading scorer, but when you're aggressive like that, you can make plays. He's going to get attention from the defense, and he made a nice decision on that one.
Moore rattles it home from from downtown. Boy, he and Bynum can come into a game and affect it so very quickly.
So you have to respect that jump shot, and you know, that's Bynum's marching orders as well. I mean, he comes in with that wrist cocked off the bench looking to make something happen.
A very wise play by Cincher. Reached in to tap it away on the attempted entry pass to Gruber. And a rare unforced error committed by Bynum. Miscommunication with Moore. Timeout. Georgia Tech leading by 5. This is what you call finding the cutter in the lane. Get out of the way. 14-9, Georgia Tech with a 5-point cushion in the midst of a 12-2 run after Northern Iowa came out of the gate scorching the nets. Paul Hewitt's team is again through its bench. You bring out guys that must be honored from deep, and it makes a difference.
Well, Clarence Moore coming in has had a huge impact in this game. Now he's back out now, but they weren't honoring McHenry early, and Moore made him pay with 2 threes.
Brooks McCowan, dogged by Bynum. And on the pick, the foul will be called against Grant Stout with a moving pick that time. His first.
See, that's what happens. I mean, Stout, you know, the notion, okay, he wants to free his teammate up, but Bynum was cheating over the top of the screen, so he tried to buy the shooter a little bit more time, but you've got to stay stationary in that position.
Elder on the blow by. Stout the rebound. Count always has his eyes up. Northern Iowa will take the easy basket if they can get it, but it's difficult to do against a team as fast as Georgia Tech.
We talk about McCown. We talked to Greg McDermott yesterday. He's learning the position, learning the fundamentals of it, but he says he definitely has the leadership qualities to be a point guard.
McCowan off the bounce. Jarrett Jack gets it over to Elder. While those begin to fall, then it becomes all the more difficult for Northern Iowa. 5 in the game for Elder.
With Elder and Bynum on the floor, they can really spread you out defensively, and Georgia Tech will hunt that three-point line in transition.
It's as if the wake-up call to Tech has arrived. Nice running floater that just won't fall for Jacobson. We're getting to a point where Northern Iowa's got to start making baskets. Oh, what a crossover move. How about that from Bynum? And understanding the urgency within, McDermott gets the timeout. This spurt is now up to 17-2. 9:46 remaining. How about that?
Well, Will Bynum has the ability to take you off the dribble. Get him the right hand.
Along with Seth Davis and Clark Kellogg in New York, I'm Greg Gumbel. We'll get you back to Milwaukee after we check in on action elsewhere in Orlando, Western Michigan, and the Commodores of Vanderbilt. It's a 21-16 lead. Both you guys feel that this is going to be a pretty close game throughout.
Well, it certainly looks that way. Again, both of these teams very good offensive teams. They score inside and outside. In Vanderbilt's case, they're 2 big guys, Matt Frigie and Shevashevsky. Both are excellent three-point shooters. And anytime you've got big guys that can shoot the three, your offense is more spread out and you're harder to guard.
Frigie can certainly score in bunches, but he's been pretty quiet so far, Clark. That's a good sign for Vanderbilt that they can build this lead without Frigie really being a huge factor.
Western Michigan coming out of a terrific season in the MAC where they won the regular season and tournament championship. In Columbus, East Tennessee State and the Bearcats of Cincinnati. This is a 13 seed versus a number 4 seed. Cincinnati with the lead right now, but you guys think this could change at any moment?
It certainly could, just because of the way East Tennessee State plays, Greg. They're not a strong defensive team, but they play at a fast pace, and because they do play that way, they're always in the game because of their ability to penetrate and knock down three-point shots. Cincinnati right now overpowering East Tennessee State a little bit with their size and athleticism inside.
Well, East Tennessee State might lose, but they're going to go down in flames, man. They play at a fast speed. I thought they were a little too excited at the start of the game. They fell down 11-0, but they've done a good job coming back.
All right, guys, in Kansas City, Eastern Washington, the number 15 seed against number 2 Oklahoma State. We had some concerns as to whether or not Eastern Washington might be muscled out of this one, but it's only a 4-point game.
So far, so good for Eastern Washington. They've done a nice job making the good shots that they've gotten. Oklahoma State a bit exposed there defensively. a Princeton-style offense being run by Eastern Washington. Always tough to defend.
All right, we'll keep our eye on that and the other games. Let's get you back to Milwaukee and rejoin Tim Brando and Mike Jaminski.
Georgia Tech, after a 17-2 run, has emerged to a 9-point lead against Northern Iowa. Panthers came out storming to a 7-2 lead before Georgia Tech got on this roll. Seeing 2-13 since the beginning of the game, when they came out absolutely lightning fast. McHenry. Georgia Tech getting very easy looks at the basket.
Well, and it's because Schneiderman is daring him to shoot. They're still taking that. They want McHenry to play. I think after 2 made jump shots, you have to readjust your game plan and come out at least play him.
Schneiderman on the cut to the basket, does draw the contact. Foul goes inside against the Yellow Jackets. Goes against Tarver. Yoda's picking up that foul. And that puts Schneiderman at the line, who has been the answer in today's game, really, for Northern Iowa. Gruber has been snuffed out. It's been very difficult for him to get loose. Wednesday on CBS, Survivor is on a special night. What's gotten into the All-Stars that's making them so wacky? Don't miss Survivor All-Stars, a special night Wednesday at 8/7 Central on CBS, America's most watched network.
I'll tell you about the only team that Georgia Tech has seen that has their big shoot threes like that is probably NC State. But Schneiderman, you've got to come out and respect his ability from the perimeter.
That was a big sequence for Northern Iowa, trying to hang with the 3 seed in Game 2 from Milwaukee. Along with Heather Cox and Mike Jaminski, Tim Brando, you look at our game summary. Georgia Tech's fast break points doesn't look like a lot, G-Man, but the truth is they've held their opponent to 28% shooting, so all of their offense coming from their defense.
That's been their MO all year, Tim, and you look at it, when they win, they hold opponents to 60 points a game. When they lose, 81. So that's been a pretty good barometer for Georgia Tech. I thought that Northern Iowa got into a little rhythm early, but Tech has increased the defensive intensity.
Earlier today, it was the story of Nick Jacobson being shut out. As you see, Moore hitting another 3-pointer, 26-13 here in Game 2. It's Ben Jacobson who has come up with a goose egg. And he had 26 in that Missouri Valley title game that meant so much to Northern Iowa, getting past Southwest Missouri State. Fadeaway jumper for Eric Crawford.
You're saying it's the curse of the Jacobson?
Yes, it may be here in Milwaukee today.
Then Peter Jacobson better wave off the golf tournament up here right now. Get your entry fee back.
Well, I think he's already turned to the Champions Tour. Mohammed looking down low and giving it up to Jack. There's Moore again. Not this time. Crawford pulls it down. That's Moore's first miss from downtown. He's 3 for 4. Now a ball was deflected. Again, Georgia Tech with the deflection that leads to a transition hoop. No way to stop that. Jarrett Jack with his first bucket.
Yeah, it's tough enough to stop them in the half court, but Northern Iowa can't give up points that way. And Pete Schmidt just got caught in a bad situation, and you try to make a pass out back toward the free throw line. It's 2 points.
Jacobson being forced to give it up, does so to Schmidt. And non-scorers being forced to shoot for Northern Iowa. Georgia Tech has done a nice job of scouting this team.
Well, Schmidt has actually stepped up well. A big loss with Chris Foster's injury that really hurt them, but Schmidt had played well and played well in the Missouri Valley Conference tournament.
Again, flash by Mohammed, and the quality find from up top. And Georgia Tech has doubled up the Panthers, 30-15, largest lead of the day. Georgia Tech using its defense to hold Northern Iowa to 25% shooting here in the opening half, and in the midst of a 17-2 run 5 minutes ago, have now doubled up on the Panthers, leading by 15. And a tough shot taken, forced again by that defense. And Pete Schmidt throwing up an air ball. And you can see the air really taken out of the Panthers balloon.
It's been the defensive tech, and Schmidt that time, he felt like he had to. There were only 3 seconds left on the shot clock, but those are the only scoring opportunities that Georgia Tech has made available to the Panthers.
You sense that realization too from Northern Iowa that maybe athletically we can't hang in there, and that's a tough pill for a coach like Greg McDermott to swallow. Halftime, he may have to become a psychologist. McHenry off the bounce. It's now a 30-8 run, and this is a damage control timeout. He must work on the psyche of his Missouri Valley champions, down by 17. (32-15) Georgia Tech with the lead. You know, Greg McDermott's one of the few post players that you see. Most coaches, it seems, are former point guards. And you commented on, it's nice to see a big guy that could play with his back to the basket on the sideline.
Nice to talk to a coach eye to eye. Paul Hewitt, not the shortest guy in the world either. They got 2 big coaches on the front line, but that was a timeout, I think, for Greg McDermott to appeal to his team and say, hey, you know, this is we can be in this game. Let's decide right now what kind of team we're going to be and how we will respond to this.
Northern Iowa has only hit 3 of their last 18 shots. Cincher way away from the basket. They give it up. Schneiderman into Gruber. They got Cincher just far enough away from the basket that they were able to attack.
Cincher having a talk with his teammates about that right now, saying, hey, I may not be the most effective guy 30 feet from the basket in this defense.
Marvin Lewis picked up the foul, his first, and Gruber at the free throw line. The first signee for Greg McDermott, first team all Missouri Valley.
Talked to everybody, very much the heart and soul of this team, and he was actually told by the doctors they were going to shut his season down with the wrist fracture, and he said, hey, I'm a senior, I've only got a few games left, I'm playing. And you have to admire that.
As Heather Cox told us earlier, this is his 88th game. He started 88 consecutively in his UNI career. Georgia Tech's bench has outdueled Northern Iowa in a very big way. 13-2. This is a deep team with, as we said earlier, interchangeable parts.
Tim, 9 times this year the leading scorer has come off the bench for Tech, so a lot of weapons.
Gruber off the feed from Crawford. Nice touch pass by him. 7 in the game for Gruber.
And he's the one who got him going initially in this game in the first 2 minutes. I think he's trying to rally his team behind him.
Bynum and the Arizona transfer still in the tournament has 4. How about that come from behind win by Seton Hall yesterday, knocking out Arizona.
Down by 14 points in that game. Louis Orr doing a great job with the Pirates.
Schneiderman.
I don't think our colleague Bill Raftery taking any delight in that. Really?
Well, as P.J. Carlissimo said many years ago, greatness is measured by whom you follow.
Raff setting that bar low for everybody.
Cincher going reversal, count it, and a foul. Oh, the Aussie taking it to the rack with authority.
We saw Andrew Bogut in the first game for Utah have a nice game down in the low post. And Schencher, we've talked about his game expanding. Both of those 2 guys, Tim, are going to go back to Australia this year and try to compete for their national team, get on the Olympic team.
He was taking some grief from a number of fans about his inability to get vertical with his jump, and his girlfriend was a high jumper. Graduated a year ago, Jamie Ostroff. She took exception to that. I think he's sort of a Scooby-Doo lookalike, don't you? It's a little shaggy in Cincher's game. Georgia Tech is alive and well, shooting 58% with his 16-point lead, and coming up on Singular at the half, Greg Gumbel, Clark Kellogg, and Seth Davis will get you updated on all the tournament news, plus a live look at all of the action going on in the NCAA tournament and the Singular one-on-one Billy Packer Trivia Challenge. That's all coming up on Singular at the half. This has been an outstanding start with a lot of balance. Moore Cincher with 9 each, but everyone getting into the fray for Paul Hewitt's team.
Well-rounded offense. They've got a lot of weapons to go to. And still, you'll see this a steady diet until the game salted away. The defensive pressure up the floor.
Schneiderman had that one blocked by Cincher. Moore left free. Now he decides to take it inside after being challenged by Gruber. Cincher just using that superior length. Can't get this one to fall. Gruber with the rebound. That's his third. Schneiderman and Gruber have 17 of Northern Iowa's 21 points. Both do have a pair of fouls each. Just over 2 minutes to play. Important that they not pick up a third before the end of the half. There's Gruber on the block trying to recover the rebound. Out of bounds off of him. Talks to Frank Scagliotta. Praying for a whistle that time that didn't come.
Well, Tim, and I think that Georgia Tech will live with that, with those two guys scoring. They're really trying to clamp down on Northern Iowa's ability to shoot the three. They average 20 attempts a game, and that has not been a factor so far for them.
And neither has Ben Jacobson. Still no points for him. And the quick bump inside against Northern Iowa. Foul will go. I believe it went against Crawford. It was. Eric Crawford picking up the foul.
Trying to get underneath Elder on the lob play.
Important that that was not on Gruber. Moore goes high-low. Inside to Elder. And Gruber the rebound. He and Schneiderman very active. Actually, Schneiderman reeled that one in. They have absolutely eliminated Ben Jacobson from this game. And they're running two at him every time he touches it. Trap now in the corner. That's no man's land. Crawford with 12 on the shot. Someone else has got to hit the perimeter jumper if Jacobson's going to be doubled like that.
And Eric Crawford is the one who has stepped up in this game from the perimeter.
Moore. Jacobson the rebound, and the quick bump will go against Lewis, it appears. Marvin Lewis picks it up. Second foul on him. And Tarver checks back into the game. Otis Tarver, number 44 for Georgia Tech. Lewis and Cincher leave the game.
Important in the last minute, Tim, that Northern Iowa gets a little confidence, makes a little run here.
Yep.
A nice timeout by Greg McDermott. And he said the key to this team has been the even keel with which they play, and they've needed this with the lead that they face here in this game.
Just maintain contact, right?
Yep.
Jacobson, right on cue. Gentle bend. And the fans erupt as the sophomore from Sioux City, Iowa, gets his first bucket. Timeout, Georgia Tech. Hey, the curse of the Jacobsons may be coming to an end. If so, look out.
Kind of a shudder, if you will, and Williams just kept going.
32-29, Western. Inside, Terrell, great catch, and he's fouled.
Greg Gumbel in New York. We'll keep you updated on this game. 37-34 Broncos, but take a look at what's happening in Milwaukee. Northern Iowa coming close, have pulled to within 4 of Georgia Tech. Let's go there. Tim Brando, Mike Jaminski.
14th seeded Northern Iowa out of the Missouri Valley, opening the second half with a 12-2 run. Had the lead a moment ago and have now clawed their way to within 4. Trailed by as many as 17 in the opening half. McCowan, the freshman from Fairbank, Iowa. Wapsie Valley High School.
We talked about him, Tim. He's a point guard, but he's the all-time leading scorer in Iowa high school history at 28 points. He can fill it.
Moore on the wing. Nice rebounding position by Gruber. McCowan, you know where he's headed. And a hand check spotted by Frank Scagliotta. It'll go against Will Bynum.
It's been a different Brooks McCowan here in the second half. He's been very aggressive, looking for his own shot.
A rainmaker. As you look at our game summary, Tim Brando, Mike Jaminski, and it is about confidence, isn't it? And the fans that have made their way here from Cedar Falls have seen their team rapidly get back involved.
No, I believe that, Greg McDermott did a great job of challenging this team, especially in that timeout late in the first half. And I think this ball club now believes that they belong on this floor.
Georgia Tech led by 17 in the first half and have seen that lead evaporate. Northern Iowa got a lead a moment ago and are now just down by 1. Gruber and Bynum leading the way for their respective teams, particularly of late. But McCowan has really gotten hot. Number 23 in purple and gold. Loose ball, he retrieves it. Over to Crawford. Too strong. Elder the rebound for Georgia Tech. Remember, Georgia Tech can score in a hurry with the help of that man, particularly. That's a deuce for Bynum, who's hit everything he's put up since coming into the game after Jarrett Jack picked up his 3rd foul.
That's the difference. Jarrett Jack looks to run this ball club. Bynum, any assists he get come out of how aggressive he is offensively, and he has been a huge lift for this team.
Muhammad gets the steal from Jacobson. Georgia Tech guilty of the player control foul again as McCowan takes the charge.
McCowan has really been a different player. The freshman getting used to his first NCAA tournament experience, been knocking down shots. And I'll tell you what, Ismail Muhammad is about 235 pounds, and he is a load coming at you at full trot.
Almost 7 minutes gone by here in the second half. It has been all Northern Iowa since the intermission. Jacobson drives to the basket, has it deflected. Good defensive work by Elder. Georgia Tech's had many deflections. Cincher's had 2 blocks today. Bynum one more time. Loose ball. Crawford lost it to Cincher, and he gets an easy one.
That's a tough play for Northern Iowa. They play very well defensively, and then Cincher, sometimes good things happen to you when you hang around the front of the rim, and those 2 points fell into his lap.
Well, Greg McDermott has done a wonderful job of re-energizing his team. McCowan, with a lot of control that time, picks up the player control foul. Let's go over to Heather Cox.
Well, Tim, I talked to Paul Hewitt during the half, and his biggest concern was the open looks they're allowing from the perimeter. They allowed UNI to knock down now 8 3-point shots. He said, we need to communicate, talk more on the flare screens. But, Mike, I'm wondering, have you seen much of a change defensively in the second half from the Yellow Jackets?
No, same. I mean, a little bit more intensity, but I just think the confidence factor for UNI has been the big thing. And it's amazing. You come down, all of a sudden you hit a couple of shots, and then you start to feel a little bit better about yourself.
There was a period in there, though, you would agree, with that 17-point lead that they were beginning to doubt whether they could athletically stick with Georgia Tech. And there you see the quick putback by McHenry. And I think at that point in time when McDermott got the timeout, it was a damage control timeout. Everything changed.
Well, and the thing, too, is they've been getting, they haven't had to play against pressure from Georgia Tech because they've been efficient offensively.
Georgia Tech had fallen down by 1. They've responded, have built that lead back to 7. As you look at our tournament summary, the ACC has fared well. Bob Knight got his 43rd tournament game, makes him number 4 all time. Only 2 lower seeds have won, that being Manhattan and Nevada yesterday. Eastern Washington, Ray Giacoletta's team, has been offering a challenge to Oklahoma State, although the Cowboys have moved well ahead in that game. And certainly here Northern Iowa is a 14, offering a stiff challenge to Georgia Tech. Tim Brando, Mike Jaminski, Heather Cox here in Milwaukee. Jacobson, nice 360 move, but he goes right into a double team. Gruber gets an easy one. Look what I found. He has 13. (52-47). Muhammad with the dump down. McHenry knows his role, doesn't he? He keeps the ball in motion. Muhammad, count it, and a foul.
Muhammad goes down hard on that play, but that's his game, Tim, to put the ball on the deck and attack the rim. scouting report doing well. You want to make him go to his right hand, but he's so strong that once he gets there, he's able to turn around and finish with your left. Yeah, to revisit your point, I mean, that's the one thing Paul Hewitt is, you know, these guys know what their role is on the team. And McHenry, a defender, he does a lot of things for you. Can get blocks, rebounds, make plays. But and he's actually hit a couple of shots in this game, but really not known for his offense.
Northern Iowa began this half on a 15-2 run. Tech has responded with an 11-3 run of their own. They've asserted themselves and have gathered a 7-point lead. Jacobson, good passing there, leads to the open three. Won't fall for Schmidt.
The one thing I have seen with perimeter, it looks like UNI doing a better job of spacing the court in this half.
Henry lost it on the way up. Ball on the end line. It will belong to the Panthers. Tremendous energy being expended during the opening 10 minutes of this second half.
Well, for Northern Iowa, they had to come out this way and establish themselves, and you want to try to pick up the momentum that they gained in that last minute.
It has been a game of runs here in the second half. Northern Iowa making the initial leap. We're able to gather the lead for the first time, and Georgia Tech responding, and now up by 7. McCown, who has been absolutely on fire, giving it up to Jacobson. Nice. Beautiful curl move right to Matt Schneiderman, and everybody loves Schneiderman. Northern Iowa making a strong run.
Great job of just opening the lane up and letting guys cut through. Schneiderman doing most of his damage in the first half from behind the arc.
Mohammed, that's an offensive foul. Player control against Ishmael. I mean, this is just perpetual motion.
Yeah, you'll see the curl and the cut right in here. Gets the defender on his back. Schencher not able to react quick enough to it.
Jarrett Jack, who picked up a third foul very early in this half, back on the floor now. And an unforced error there. The Panthers pick up the foul. It will go against Schneiderman. That's number 3, and that's important. The senior from Marshalltown, Iowa, has played very well.
And this is the one thing that Tech has not been able to do in this half is get into their full court pressure, because they haven't been as efficient offensively, or they have not gotten to the free throw line.
Jack with the dump down to Schencher. Wild shot that time. Jacobson tapped it out. Smart play.
Schencher getting all sorts of attention from the Panthers inside. Not a guy that really you're going to just dump it down to in the low box and have him make things happen. He's got to play off of others.
Well, an unforced error there by Crawford, trying to lead his man just a bit too far. Coming at a critical stage, you see McCowan trying to settle his guys down. Greg McDermott, outstanding young coach for this team, 10 seasons at Northern Iowa. He played for Jim Barry, who still I believe lives in Waterloo and has contact with him always. Eldon Miller is also a coach for him at Northern Iowa and is in attendance today. Elder with a 3 ball. 57-49, 10 in the game for him.
Let's see in the last 10 minutes if he starts to assert himself more on the offensive end.
McCowan. And again into the passing lane is Moore. Out of bounds, last touch by Georgia Tech. There's Eldon Miller. Got a little facial growth since his days of coaching Special K. You could say Clark had something to do with the gray and white hair that's on top. Well, that was a great time at Ohio State. You think of the number of outstanding players they had when Clark was one of the best forwards in the game.
And just really criminal what happened to him physically. I mean, the guy was a double-double every time he walked out on the floor.
Gruber counted and a foul. Eldon loves it. Brings back memories of the stat sheet stuffer, you know, from St. Joe's.
We talked to Greg McDermott yesterday, and he talked about how well-schooled the kids are when they come to him. They've got great high school coaches in the state of Iowa. Gruber from Salon, Iowa, and you know, McDermott was going on and on about how the high school coaches in that state work so hard to get these kids fundamentally prepared, and that's one thing you can say about this Northern Iowa team. They've got the basics down.
Every time I've visited that state, I could sense how much they love the game too of basketball. No matter the university, it really doesn't matter. They love it in that state. Elder. The runner won't go. Crawford the rebound. I tell you, Eric Crawford is close to the basketball. At 6'3", he has 5 rebounds today.
And that's what he averages on the year. Think about that. He's got a nice old wide body to him. Very powerful inside.
Jacobson working on Jarrett Jack. There he is for 3. 57-52, 6 rebounds now for Marvin Lewis. And on the step in, the foul will be called against McCowan. Timeout. Georgia Tech by 5.
Greg Gumbel with Clark Kellogg and Seth Davis in New York. 57-52 Tech. We'll get you back to this game shortly. Check in on what's happening in Columbus. East Tennessee State trailing Cincinnati, but not by much. Can one man account for showtime?
Boy, I tell you what, Timmy Smith is something special to watch. He's got speed and endless, boundless energy, and he's really gotten his team back. Actually, they had a lead a couple of minutes ago, and Cincinnati, to their credit, has responded with a couple of big three-point shots.
Major concession from Bob Huggins going to the zone defense, because not only is Smith scoring, he's getting all his guys in foul trouble.
Well, they've got a chance to tie it up or take the lead, and here's Timmy Smith, the little fella.
You see him going against the zone there, Clark. You don't see that much from Bob Huggins.
East Tennessee State has hung in there and hung in, and they don't appear to be going anywhere and looking for the lead now. They don't get it there. It's a 2-point game. Cincinnati 62-60. Meanwhile, in Orlando, Vanderbilt with just a 2-point lead on the Broncos of Western Michigan, or Western Michigan. Plenty of time there. And in Kansas City, Eastern Washington trails Oklahoma State 55-45. We'll keep tabs on all of these games. Let's get you back to Milwaukee and rejoin Tim Brando and Mike Jaminski.
Georgia Tech with a 5-point lead as Schencher leaves the game after picking up his second foul. 7:45 remaining. What a big difference we've seen from those two. Clarence Moore and Schencher were carrying Georgia Tech earlier in the first half.
Not only that, but it clears up space inside for UNI to operate. You get a 7'1" body out of there. All of a sudden, the basket looks a little bit more open.
I tell you, Brooks McCowan knows what to do with space. Right now, Bynum's not giving him much. Crawford has been very serviceable this afternoon, and Jacobson finally ignited late in the first half and carried over into the second. Shot clock winding down. McCowan grazed the rim, and it's recovered by Tarver with the help of Ismail Mohammed.
Not the same ball and people movement in that possession that UNI has had in the first 13 minutes. A little stagnant, and they get a poor shot.
Elder, tough take. He was in no man's land, was bailed out there by Bynum. Tarver on the offensive glass. Out of bounds to Northern Iowa. Sunday on CBS, when Americans are taken hostage, they turn to this man to rescue them. Russell Crowe, Meg Ryan, and David Caruso star in the network premiere of Proof of Life. Sunday on CBS, America's most watched network. This healthy contingent from Cedar Falls urging on their Panthers. Down by as many as 17 in the first half. Had a magnificent opening to the second half to gather the lead, and are down by 5. Jacobson with a dump down. How did he come up with that? Boy, Schneiderman had Velcro on his right hand to bring it in and then could not finish. Tarver in traffic, rejected. I think Schneiderman was so upset about missing that shot a moment ago. He absolutely was going to make a play on the other end.
Well, and how about not hanging your head in that situation and hustling back? You see the full-out sprint by Schneiderman and then coming in from the weak side. And that's the difference now. Paul Hewitt is going to get Schencher back in the ball game. Theodis Tarver just not the offensive threat that Schencher is, and Tarver misses his last 2 field goal attempts.
Schneiderman outstanding on the court and off. Missouri Valley Conference scholar athlete, 3.4 GPA. McHenry with the putback. 10 in the game for him.
Talked about knowing your role, and that's what he can do. He's got the length to climb on the offensive glass.
In pockets in this game where Northern Iowa's really struggled to score, and you get a sense that this might be one of those moments. A foul is spotted against Georgia Tech.
Here's the look. Everybody kind of getting a body on people except for McHenry, who had a free run. Watch this, right to the front of the rim. Nobody there. Boy, nothing better. You get those steps collected and get up on a missed shot. You know something good's going to happen.
B.J. Elder picked up the foul, his second. He leaves the game, and Marvin Lewis comes in for him. Northern Iowa only one field goal in the last 4.5 minutes, yet they've been able to stay close. And now Crawford at the line.
And that's another area that Georgia Tech has eliminated on the year. Northern Iowa has outscored their opponents by 100 points at the free throw line. It's been a big factor for them, but they've only been there 9 times. This will be the 10th attempt in this game.
He had 24 points, Mike, in the game against Iowa, which even Greg McDermott said was the game that really turned his club around. Came at a time in the season when they really needed a win.
They were 2-3 in that situation, and then facing a nationally ranked Iowa team. You're right, Tim. That was a huge confidence builder. I think maybe the start of their season mirrors the start of this game in particular, and how they fought back.
Schencher. Loose ball. McCowan comes away with it. Gruber tipped it. Crawford. Out to Jacobson. The iron unkind. Pulled down by Lewis.
How many have they had like that in this half? At least 3 go way down. Crawford had one earlier.
Very impressive. Ishmael Mohammed in the game. Schencher down low. Lewis taps it right back to him. What presence of mind by Marvin Lewis. That's something coaches teach, don't they? The tap out.
If you can't get control of it, try to tip it to a teammate. But I think Schencher might have gotten away with coming over the back on that play.
Muhammad working inside, ran out of terrain on the end line. Bernard Clinton, our official, was right on top of it. And Paul Hewitt's team has now turned it over 9 times in this half. We talked about they averaged 16 on the game. They only had 2 at the break. Well, they survived that drought of 4.5 minutes, and Northern Iowa now appears to be more in the flow. Jacobson nowhere near with that shot. Did not get his shoulder squared when he launched that one. He'd love to have that one back.
Right, it's tough. I thought he's gotten some pretty good looks despite his reputation in this game, and just has not been able to get anything go down.
2 out of 10 from the floor for Jacobson. Lewis. And the rebound, McCowan. He's just claiming every loose ball in this half. Tried to put on a little show there and almost turned it over. Crawford saved him. Shot clock winding down with Lewis checking McCowan. Jacobson struggling to get past Mohammed. Very tough shot. Outstanding Georgia Tech defense.
Tim, they have not fared well in the last 8 seconds of the shot clock. They've had tough opportunities trying to manufacture good looks. They've been much better in the middle of the shot clock.
Paul Hewitt wants to get something done in this offensive sequence. His team has been struggling against a feisty group from the state of Iowa. (59-54) Georgia Tech with the lead. Tim Brando along with Mike Jaminski and Heather Cox. We're talking about it a bit earlier in our first game. Nick Jacobson of Utah really struggled, and Ben Jacobson did it a couple of big shots, but it has been the curse of the Jacobsons in Milwaukee today. A collective 5 of 29 for the 2 stars. Clarence Moore. They wanted an open shot. Paul Hewitt got it, but he was unable to convert. This is a big sequence for Northern Iowa. As you said, the deeper they get into the clock, the more trouble they have, right, Mike?
Yeah, I think if they can get themselves opportunities here early, it'll benefit them.
Yeah, the stress test generally begins at around the 12-second mark. Crawford in trouble, and again, it forces a very difficult shot.
Now Georgia Tech has really been solid in not in limiting their looks. Every jumper's been under duress.
Panthers really having to rely on their defense, and they got it done again. Off the deflection by Gruber. Still very much alive, the 14 seed. Make sure you vote for your starting center on the Pontiac All-Tournament team. You can cast your ballot now at ncaasports.com/Pontiac.
I know I can count on you, Tim, can I?
Yes. Always, G-Man. Always.
That would be a write-in vote.
Yeah. We've got some unbelievable games going on right now. Vanderbilt and Western Michigan is a 3-point game. Cincinnati and East Tennessee State are tied up, and here Northern Iowa making a run against Georgia Tech. They've done it before against ranked teams. We mentioned that Iowa game that may have turned their season around back in December. Schneiderman, everybody loves him.
Who's your go-to guy at the end? 3 threes in the first half, and he bookends it with one here late.
Two down with 2 to play. Timeout, Georgia Tech. The contingent from Cedar Falls watching some threes fall. (59-57). Schneiderman's best game was a 28-point performance against Drake back on February the 25th. He has really come up big time today, with Jacobson being snuffed out by this Georgia Tech defense. One of the real favorites in bracketology. Elder with 1 on the clock. Off the back iron, runs down the long rebound and gets a fresh 35. And Paul Hewitt says back it out.
Breakdown that time by Northern Iowa. You got him to take the shot that you wanted, and he didn't clean up the long rebound. John Little leaking out a little bit on that play.
Jackets have been a bit sloppy on the offensive end of late. They want a quality look here. Clock winding down to 10. Elder going one-on-one against Crawford. Oh, what a tough shot. BJ with a big payday.
He's the guy at the end of the clock. I mean, he's so strong that he can get into the lane.
Quick timeout taken by Greg McDermott. Down by 4, 56.5 remaining. B.J. Elder, the junior from Madison, Georgia, and Morgan County High School with a very important play.
Well, you talk about being able to get to your strong hand, and B.J. Elder getting to the right is an automatic play in that situation. Good 2-foot jump shot stop. He had a great base.
Now here's the concern, Mike. They really can't wait that long to initiate their offense now, down 2 possessions.
And it's been a problem in the second half as they've gotten deep into the clock.
Jacobson trying to do it solo. Off the back iron, loose ball fought for and out of bounds off of Gruber. It will be controlled to Georgia Tech. And Jacobson's problems continue. 2 out of 13 from the floor.
They've had a big cover on him with Clarence Moore guarding him. Very tough to make something happen off the dribble. Moore able to stay in front of him.
Well, Northern Iowa has expended so much energy getting back into this game. You wonder if they're going to be able to close it out. Quick foul given up by Schneiderman against Moore, who is a 67% free throw shooter.
Right, and Tim, this is where Georgia Tech's bench pays off in the last minute or 2 of a ball game. They've got guys on the floor who are fresh, and Georgia Tech will not get free throws here.
Right.
But
still something to give.
Northern Iowa, it's been a very short bench, and how much do these guys have left to finish off the 38 seconds?
They'll quickly have to give one up again. Schincher. And now they'll get to the line. 16 foul. He's still got one more. My apologies. game has been played so quickly, you lose sight of the fact there really haven't been that many fouls. Not many trips to the line for either team.
You either want to get it into Elder or Jack's hands, the two best free throw shooters.
Near steal by Gruber. Schencher now fouled, and he'll get to the line.
Gruber can't believe it. He was so close to getting that pass, and I thought Schencher took a risk by not coming back to meet it.
And Schencher is a 68% free throw shooter. He'll get to the line.
You'll see up in the far right-hand corner, just getting the cast tip on it. Maybe if he had a healthy hand, he might have been able to get control of that ball.
It is a good news, bad news story, though, when you have fouls to give late, because at least the bonus is 1 and 1, not 2.
Right. Yep. And you put a 68% shooter at the free throw line, so you take your chances there as opposed to Elder and Jack, who are near 80.
Very important. Georgia Tech starters have accounted for 60% of their points. Northern Iowa's 96% of their points. Still a 2-possession game. 6-point lead for Georgia Tech. Ishmael Muhammad has checked in. McCowan. Well, he missed an opportunity to launch a 3.
Tech switching everything, but we're late on that transaction.
Crawford, count it. Down to a 1-possession game with 21 ticks remaining. Still an opportunity for the underdog on the road in Milwaukee and trying to advance. Clearly the point here for Northern Iowa is to put Georgia Tech at the line. But the problem is the Jackets have a number of guys in that lineup like Lewis, Bynum, Elder, and Jack that are all 78% or better at the free throw line.
The key is to try to keep the ball out of their hands. Now for Georgia Tech, you've got to have the most important thing is to have outlets available for the guy inbounding the ball, and you must be aggressive coming back to the pass. Can't leave any opportunities for a steal situation.
Marvin Lewis will trigger it in for Georgia Tech. Schencher and Moore, who are in the game, are your best bets at 67 and 68%. But you might have to be quick. Oh, Jack almost turned it over. And Greg McDermott trying to point it out to Frank Scagliotta right now.
And that is a risky pass, Tim, over to the sideline. You flirt with that timeout, and Greg McDermott is vehement about that call. You want to try to get it in the middle somehow if you can. No, it was close, but that ball bounced inbounds. And then it took another second or two for UNI to react to it and get the foul.
Jarrett Jack, 79% at the stripe on the season. 2 out of 2 today. They have their opportunity. Jacobson is a 3-point threat. McCowan is a 3-point threat. And they decide to take the timeout. Now that's an interesting call on the part of Greg McDermott. Many would say you get a better look with the ball live than you would if you give Georgia Tech defensively a chance to set up.
Right, and you wonder if he had older guards, if he might trust them a little bit more in making that play, Tim. But with the freshman Cowan and the sophomore Jacobson to get them all on the same page. But it looked, while that timeout was being called, that UNI had some options out there to explore offensively.
That's generally the rule from coaches' perspectives that think offensively. But again, with a complement of timeouts remaining and McDermott able to induce the missed free throw, I gather he knows his team better than anyone. Perhaps he has one of those outstanding specials to run for his 3-point sharpshooter.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I like the call of, on a miss like that, rushing it up the floor and not giving the other team an opportunity to set their defense. But that being said, again, a young team, their first tournament experience. I think you err on the side of caution and make sure that you go to something that you can set up here on the sideline.
Earlier today, when Utah had a chance to tie it, they went to Nick Jacobson, even though he had a very difficult day. I mean, the same is true for Ben Jacobson. who's been the outstanding sharpshooter all season long for Northern Iowa. McCowan, what do you think about Schneiderman as a possibility?
I tell you, Schneiderman or Crawford, and that's the thing, that's the bonus for UNI, that you've got options out there from behind the arc. Georgia Tech can't lock in on one guy.
Game on the line. Shooting for an opportunity at overtime. Crawford finds Jacobson. It will be Ben. Off the back iron. Recovered by Georgia Tech, and the quick foul given. In both cases, coaches went to their stars for the season, not their hot hand on the day.
Well, he was the MVC tournament MVP. He averaged 20 points in that game, and that was the call, clearly the call right away to try to get him the ball coming off the screen. But, you know, regardless of the outcome, I applaud Northern Iowa for getting back in this game. It did not look good early, halfway through the first half, and they really, I think, found out a lot about their team in this game.
I don't think there's any question about that. A gritty group, and Greg McDermott in his 10th season overall, and having been a former player coaching at his alma mater, as McCowan leaving the game, boy, what a performance he gave. Georgia Tech may be at the top of a number of people's brackets, but they certainly had to earn their way into the second round today. They'll meet Boston College in round 2 on Sunday.